Hey Off-White Coat listeners, it is my privilege to get to tell you about this sweet deal from our friends over at Picmonic. If you haven't heard about Picmonic, it is a fantastic picture-based mnemonic platform that can certainly help out any student. Most of the videos are around 2 minutes long and provide a quick and effective way to memorize material for any upcoming medical exam. It is extremely efficient. They have this search bar function where you can search playlists on general topics like renal to step 1 to step 2, or even first aid and other books. If you want to review the Picmonic for later, you can even make a playlist of your own. Picmonic even has this repetition algorithm that is spaced out according to your learning needs. This helps with increasing long-term retention and allows you to review the right information at the right time. One of my favorite functions is the quizzes that are associated with each Picmonic. I'll take the quiz first and then learn about the associated pictures and what facts I need to sharpen up on. Honestly, Picmonic is a fantastic tool, and if you use our code OFFWHITECOAT, you'll get 20% off. That's Off-White Coat with no spaces. So what are you waiting for? Make studying the easiest part of your day. Sign up with Picmonic and use Off-White Coat to save yourself some money. Hello everyone, this is the Off-White Coat podcast and I'm going to be your host, Jordan Abney. This is going to be the first episode, so there might be a little kinks that need to be worked through, but we're going to get through it. A little bit about what this podcast is about is, so I wanted to start this because I wanted to give a little unique aspect to the medical field. I am currently a medical student at St. George's University. So that is a medical school in the Caribbean. So I spent 2 years down there, and then I'm currently doing rotations up here in New Jersey. And I just wanted to share some of the unique experiences that I have. And I hopefully every week will have a guest, maybe even multiple ones, really where we can, and it doesn't even have to be in the medical field. Some of them may be in the medical field. Some of them may be of other professions. Really just want to meet. I know I've met a lot of interesting people throughout my life, and I really want to share them with you. What we want to do is we want to bring in guests every week, whether it be one person, multiple people. I've met a lot of interesting people over this time period, and I'd like to share them with you. Give them a safe space where we can just talk things out, whether it be medical knowledge or weekly news or whatever. So yeah, with the first guest is actually my lovely girlfriend, Mary Beth. Feel free to introduce yourself whenever.
Okay. Hello, I am Jordan's girlfriend, like you said, Mary Beth. We've been together for 5 years now. I've followed him to the Caribbean and Grenada for like half a year, really. And then now we are living our best lives in Jersey City, New Jersey for a couple more months. We've been here for about a year, and then plan is to go to Baltimore, then go to Miami, and then who knows from there. But yeah, so basically I follow Jordan around.
Yeah, she's a real trooper. She's a real trooper.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you'll continue listening throughout the rest of Jordan's medical journey. Like he was explaining, we'll have like guests each week, whether it's me or some of our friends. A bunch of Jordan's family members are in the medical profession, or even like alternative professionals that he works with, or people who don't even know anything about medicine, like myself. So
yes, yeah, Mary Beth is going to be at least running the show from the background. So she may be stepping in from time to time. Really, just she's got a good head on her shoulders, so she's pretty smart when it comes to it.
Yeah. So, but for today, like Jordan briefly mentioned, he is currently in his OBGYN rotation. This is his last core. What, you're going on week 4 of that?
Week 3. I think.
Week 3.
Week 3, yes. So I've had OB for about, this is going on to be my 3rd week, and I have a 24-hour call tomorrow. So today is Saturday, and then I have a call on Sunday, which is way better than having a call on Saturday. So I'll take that any day of the week. But
yes. So like walk us through like what your on call like entails.
So, yeah, when I'm on call, I really just work with the labor and delivery. Like, there's a couple aspects to OB, and we can get into that later. But when I'm on call, I really am just in the, like, labor and delivery. So, like, if anybody comes in, they got to have a baby. That's what I'm in. Like, I'm in all the C-sections. I'm in all the live births. Luckily, this rotation has been really good to me. Like when I'm there, they don't really make me do like, there's not that many births nightly. Like it's usually like 2 or 3. I got lucky one night. I've only had call 2 nights before, but the 2 times that I did, the first night was dead. And then the other time, all the babies were born at like 5:30 and 6. So I got to sleep in a little bit. It was nice.
So like 5:30.
So I'm praying, knock on wood, tomorrow is not chaos.
So 5:30 and 6 in the morning, right?
Yes. So because I go in at 7.
Morning,
7 in the morning until 7 in the morning.
So,
24 hours.
Yes. So, oh my goodness. That's so long. I don't understand how OBGYN people do that. Like, and they do that like doctors. They do that once a week, twice a week sometimes.
The ones that I have talked to, they were just like, this is how it is. The reason we're making you do the on-call is because if you really want to be an OB, you're going to have to take these kind of calls on a daily, or not daily, but weekly schedule.
Yeah.
The one of the doctors that I spoke to, he was talking about how he didn't work in a big practice. So he had to take call like 2 to 3 times a week, 24-hour call. And then he had like a private practice on top of that. So he didn't have to, like, he had to go in, like, the random times when people had births as well. So, I mean, you have to do a lot starting out. It's a heavy business. Like, you kind of, babies happen at any time. So, they're always.
Even when you, like, schedule the surgeries, there's still, like, anything could happen. Like, they could go longer. They could, like, you could be waiting on, like, a COVID test to come back or something. Or
what she's referring to is the fact that the other night I had a surgery scheduled. I had a DNC scheduled at 11, which is a super quick surgery. Like if they let me do some things, and so it took a little bit longer, but it usually is like a 15-minute thing. There was one at 11 and one at 12. I didn't start the first surgery till 2:30, and then the second surgery, the lady had a weird COVID. Like that was just because the orthopedic team took a little bit longer during their surgery. But then the second surgery, after they had already waited 3.5 hours, the lady had gotten a COVID test earlier that day, and it still hadn't come in. The machine had broken. There was all these little errors in the Swiss cheese model. That's the model they say, like, there's, like, so many, like, you set up all these barriers so that it all, like, it's like Swiss cheese, like, while there's a hole, it doesn't go all the way through.
Okay.
Like, something catches it.
Confused by
Either
that.
way, like,
that makes
the
sense.
people that are in that's a very common, like, you know, you have a lot of barriers that prevent some stupid thing from happening. Well, this one failed epically. The machine broke, so they couldn't read it. And then there was some error with the blood, so then they had to rerun it back through. Either way, it was like 3:45, and I get off at 4 when they started the incision for a total hysterectomy. So that one's a little bit longer. That one's like at least an hour and a half. This one had complications, so this one took 2.5 hours. Luckily, I stayed on call that night. I was able to switch my call. But I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to stay super late just to see the surgery. And then I don't do anything in the surgery besides like hold the retractors and make sure the suction doesn't fall.
Yeah. So like he was supposed to do on call the next night, but because he had like stayed 2 hours later.
I was able to work it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So he like got it switched, and then so it ended up working out because Jordan has to drive like an hour to and from work. So instead of like staying 2 extra hours and then driving an hour home, it would have been like 8 o'clock or so.
Yeah, I would have had to go to sleep immediately.
Go to sleep, wake up, to go right back into work for 24 hours straight. So yeah, like fortunately he ended up getting his 24-hour call switched. Now he's on to his next one tomorrow. So
yeah. I mean, it's fine. The doctor that I work with, she really like vouches for the students and everything. And I mean, I'm fine. I really enjoy the miracle of life. I'm not afraid of a call shift. The late night thing, the only problem is I don't really sleep that well. But you know me, I run off very little sleep anyway.
Right, yeah.
But the call shifts, they aren't really that bad. At least at this hospital, like the residents aren't like assholes, and they're really not expecting much. Like I really just study. I study a lot. Like I treat that day like it is like the epitome of my study day. Like once everybody goes to bed, everybody does something, because I know I'm going to be wired. I'm like waiting for a baby to be born. There's not a single person in the hospital I'm like, there's going to be a lady come in.
Yeah.
You know, I know I need to, I sometimes will like go to sleep, but if I go to sleep, somebody's got to wake me up with an emergency.
Right.
You know, but since I'm a student, nobody's real, like, they expect you to be up or not. So I just treat it really like I'm going to be really ready if anything happens, and I just studied like really, really hard. Like you've taught to me too. Like I kind of just try to maximize my time period while I'm there.
Yeah.
And it really has helped me out. Like when I had surgery rotation and the OB rotation, the on-call, like I made the most of it. So except for I watched Jupiter Ascending or whatever that Netflix movie or show was. In my surgery rotation, I was like, I should have just studied during that time. Probably. That show, I was like, I should really just be doing something else as I was watching it. I was doing it as I was learning sutures, but it was...
At least you were learning sutures.
I know. I just try to maximize the time. But that was one where I was like, well, this show I could... Yeah.
Whoops. I feel like there's a fine line between, like, wanting stuff to happen, like, during call shifts to keep you busy, and then, like, not wanting anything so you can, like, sleep or study or watch Jupiter Ascending or whatever.
Yeah, that was only for a short time period, trust me, but exactly, like, you don't want your call shift to be completely slammed. Because that, like, wrecks you for the next day. Mm-hmm. You want to have some time, but you want to also, like, that's the problem is you want to maximize your time, especially as a student, because we have so much still to learn. And even as a resident, you're going to be woken up. You need to take your times to sleep. But just when I'm in that atmosphere, I get so excited. I can't, like, it's hard for me to sleep. Plus, the patient bed that I sleep in at the hospital, they don't really have like a bed. They have just like a patient bed that they've got rolled into the on-call thing. It's not the comfortable ones either.
Yeah. Jordan loves to learn. Like, it's sometimes annoying sometimes because he wants...
It made me sound like a nerd.
He wants me to learn just as much as him, and I'm just like, pass.
I wrote a list of things that we could progress ourselves with.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, well, let me finish this thought. So, like, kidding. During these rotations, Jordan doesn't want to be an OBGYN. He doesn't want anything to do with that field. But, like, while he's in this field, or, what is it, like, pediatrics or something, that's one, he's interested kind of in pediatrics, but, like...
Pediatrics was fun, so I like to learn it. Like, I wanted to know it as the kids were coming in, because I like the kids.
But
and then the more I knew it, I could do things with. But
that was just the one off the top of my head. But OBGYN especially, like, you don't really want to do that. So it's like the fine line that you find of wanting there to be chaos and not wanting chaos. It's kind of more clear, I feel like, in OBGYN because, you know, you're like, one, you'll never get this opportunity again, so you kind of want to do it.
Yes.
But two, it's like, this is good study time. Like, Jordan has OBGYN shelf coming up on top of step 2. So he's like studying for 2 tests right now. So like if there's nothing going on, I think that's kind of like the beast. I don't know what's the saying. Like the bearer of the burden. What is that saying? The best of the burden.
It's the best. Well, so yeah,
there's some kind of saying. I don't know.
That's the best case scenario for sure because I really do have to study for all those tests. Like, that's the problem. The thing is, and it's a unique scenario that I'm in, is because I don't really want to go to all of these OB scenarios. Like, but I also find it so fun to, like, scrub in and, like, deliver a baby and, like, be part of all that.
Yeah.
That I'm like,
cool.
I kind of want at least 1 or 2. It's like, I'm like that little kid in The Incredible. I'm like, just looking for something amazing to happen. Yeah, so I guess.
That's you, like, every day, too. If anyone knows Jordan. Oh, my God.
But, yeah, so I like to be, like, really ready because in those scenarios, I'm always going to take the other day, this student had followed this patient. He had done all the work, but he was, like, kind of fresh. Yeah. And they were like, somebody scrub in. And he didn't know how to do the glove thing. And he was like, Jordan, you want to do it? Yeah. Before I knew it, I had grabbed the thing.
Gloves on.
Yeah. I had put the gown on because I knew how to do it by myself. So I put the gown on, grabbed the gloves, I put them on. I realized that I hadn't even spoken to her when I was staring at her and she was looking at me with a confused face and the baby was coming out.
Oh my
Because the baby, I didn't, because she already said it, like it was sudden. Like we had both went in this room and I was about to introduce myself and the other student had been following her. And then we felt of her and she had been like, so the way cervixes are is
yes, tell me how cervixes are.
the cervix. When you're about to give birth, the cervix essentially is the gateway to the uterus, and that's where the baby is held.
Okay.
So as you're about to give birth, it slowly starts to get wider and spread open, and so you like do a vaginal exam to feel how open the cervix is. Mm-hmm. And once you get past a certain point, which is like, I think it's like 6 centimeters or whatever, it starts to double in time, like how fast it opens. So they felt her, and she was like, I think she was like 6. Maybe she was like, I think she was right at that, because then they felt her again like an hour or an hour and a half later. And there's like a weird way that you calculate, like if you got to 6 inches or 6 centimeters in this amount of time, then the next labor will be 2 times as quick as it took you to get to 6 centimeters. So they have like a calculated thing.
Wait, the next labor, the next
or the next time, the amount of time it takes you to get to 6 centimeters, it's going to take you less, like half that time to get to 10.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, like it's going to be quick. Once it starts, it happens. And that's what they're trying to explain.
Here it comes.
And that's what this happened to this girl. So they go in, they check her, and she's like 4, 6. I can't even remember, but it was like a testament to like, they went and checked her like 2 hours later. And she was like, baby was at +2, which you don't get, but maybe somebody that's done it, the OB rotation is. So 0 is the baby is like at the cervix level. And +2 is like the baby is like, +3 is the baby's head is out of the vagina. So +2 is the baby's coming. Like she was like, I feel the baby's head. Holy shit. What? The baby's coming. You get a gown. Somebody get a fucking gown. It's coming. And then the baby, like by the time I could get my gown on, they had got the baby out.
It was +3.
It was coming.
+3.
It was coming.
+3.
It was like crowning quick. Because the gown
+5.
the gown wasn't even in the room. This is a typical medical school story. Like she's like, somebody grab a gown. There was only one gown in the room. Mm. So I had to run, me and the other student, and he just like, I don't know how to do this. So you do it. I'm like, well, give me a gown. And so we just like split and we just run to different rooms and I grab a gown. I'm like, we're getting in. By the time it takes me to get in there, the baby's already out. I was like, whoa. But I got to deliver the placenta, which is really cool. There's like a whole technique.
Is it gooey?
It's really, really unique. Like it's almost like what a jellyfish would be like it's kind of like a gel sac, but on the inside, like, so there's a weird like film over the top part of it that is like what is the outer layer.
Right?
I have gloves on.
Okay.
Yeah, I have gloves on. But when you flip it over, which is what it's attached to the placenta or to the uterus, like the blood vessels and everything that are attached, there's this weird like gelatin, like, but it's harder. Yeah. And it feels like so unique. It almost feels like, I guess, like if you had like a jellyfish, but it was like there was like a lot of thick stuff in the jellyfish. It's honestly like some of them are kind of beautiful look. Really? There was a baby I saw.
Gray?
They're like a bluish, purplish kind of with maybe like a red tint. Yeah, like there was a umbilical cord I saw the other day, and like I had seen it early in my rotation, so I was like, oh shit, do all umbilical cords look this beautiful? And then I saw some later, and spoiler alert, they were not as. They're not all that. No, but this one like had thick. So like umbilical cord.
You better tell me my umbilical cord's pretty.
The umbilical cord is like it almost has like a white on the inside, more like a gelatin kind of look, and then there's like blue and purple like circling. And this one, I mean, it just had the thick blue. I mean, it just looked very, like, I was like, wow, like very pretty. I was like,
interesting for an umbilical cord.
For an umbilical cord, I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Like, even like all the nurses too were like, wow, okay, like I see you with your beautiful umbilical cord. Kid looked like ugly as hell, but I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But the umbilical cord was.
My face when you said that, I was like, wow, those.
But yeah, we essentially just like hang out, wait for babies to happen. Which is like, I mean, that's like pretty fun too, because like the only problem with OBs is once a child is born, you just deal with the mother. And the best part about it is the child, except for you can do the circumcision. You can mutilate the child after it's born, but that's about it. That's about as much.
So if you're not delivering baby, are you like in the clinic?
So
doing what?
No, right? So one of the weeks I was in the clinic. And it was the outpatient clinic, which is where people go to get their pap smears and everything like that. And we'll talk about that later as well, because speculum exams and everything, they're kind of weird. But
You got to smear some paps.
I've smeared some paps, that's for sure. I've smeared some paps.
Too many.
Two.
Too many.
Well, one was enough. One. So when I'm not doing anything, especially on the night shift, when we're not like following the patients, if there's a consult, like sometimes and the funny thing is, right now I want to do emergency medicine. So the residents, especially the one that like is like my friend or whatever, she's been the nicest one. She's like, I'm going to make sure that you know by the end of this rotation when not to consult OBGYN. And if I can teach you that, the rest of your career, you're going to be fine. I was like, okay.
Thank you, master.
I was like, oh, thank you, grasshopper.
Yeah. No, you're the
Yeah,
grasshopper.
I'm the grasshopper.
Yes. Master.
Thanks from the grasshopper.
Sensei.
Thank you, Sensei. So she was just like, because evidently in the ER, like anytime there's a vagina problem, and the interesting thing is that my mom, my mom is an emergency physician, but she works in a small town, and they kind of handle all the like speculum exams and everything. But at this ER, they consult them for everything. Like one time they consulted the OB department because they were like, oh, this lady has some vaginal bleeding. And they were like, oh, okay, when was her last menstrual period? And they were like 30 days ago, something like that. And she was like, how about she's on her period? And they were like, oh, that could be it. We just, cause like she went and checked. Yeah, there was no abdominal tenderness or anything. It was just like funny. Cause she was like, I literally got consulted, and then I looked at it cause the lady had vaginal bleeding. So they were just like, oh, vaginal bleeding, call OB. And then she was like, she had vaginal bleeding because she was like a surgery patient or something like that. And they realized that she was on her period.
Well, I mean.
Like they're like some of the stuff you don't have to call somebody else to figure out, which is something I can understand.
Let me tell you what. It was a guy doctor who called.
I bet it was. That's why
the only excuse that I could probably get.
Oh, that's 100%, and that's why they were just like. And there's something to that. Like the best emergency physician is one that knows just enough that like he doesn't do the dumb consults. He doesn't need somebody else to solve something that's simple.
Right.
That's like the beauty of it too. Like you can handle so many things by yourself, but sometimes you're going to have to reach out. Mm-hmm. But you have to be the gatekeeper. Mm-hmm. You have to be the one to be like, okay, this is someone's period. Yes. And then this is somebody that's got endometrial cancer. Well, we need to look at it. And so there's a little bit of beauty into that. And so she was like, so we may have to do some consults. Sorry, I went off track a little bit, but okay. So we may have to do consults like where we go to the ER and we will go there and,
see when they call or where you
Yeah. So they will put it in the computer that they need to consult OBGYN. So then that signals for them, the resident to get a pager. Like they have pagers, so they get like a page or...
This is in the 90s?
This is exactly... One of them gave me their pagers I was carrying around. I was like... one of them gave me their pager and they were like, get it to stop ringing. I was like, I don't even know how this fucking thing works. Yeah. I was like I was like flicking down the button and flicking up and they were like, click the button. I was like, I didn't even know it clicked at all. I was just going up and down. It was still ringing.
Off, on, and off.
I was like, I have no idea how this works.
It's the lights are on, the lights are off.
I was right before pager. Like I barely got the iPhone. Like I guess I'm kind of old. Like I barely scooted in at the iPhone, but I was too young and maybe parents too broke to even worry about the pager.
Yeah, probably.
And nobody was calling me any fucking way.
I'm surprised people still use that.
Well, they only do it for the residents, really. It's like a whole... I thought they just call.
I thought they just like sent a text. Like
no, it's weird, and I guess it's because they can switch out residents, but not have to switch out the pager. And so you can have different residents, and you just give the pager, and then the nurse calls that pager no matter what, and it contacts the resident. So they're like 78885 works for always for the resident.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
I guess that's why. I don't know because it's fucking obsolete.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It really threw me off. It was like, that was weird too, because they were in the middle of surgery and I had just scrubbed out. Like it was the total hysterectomy I was talking about. I had just like done all that I could have. They were closing up, but she kept feeling the ring and she was like, Jordan, can you please like just go ahead and scrub out already and just like get this pager. And I was like, okay. Which I had to like reach under the gown and like grab it off.
Oh, so you basically had to...
Well, luckily it was attached to like her front hip pocket. There was one time where it was attached to the back and the other student had to get it, that he was like kind of like, he didn't just grab, he made it awkward.
Yeah.
Like he's like going in from the backside, but he's like being awkward about it. And she's like, will you grab this fucking pager? It's like...
Can you just take this?
Just grab my butt already and just grab the pager.
Like... Can we...
You're about to break sterile field.
You're making this more awkward than what it even has to be.
You're about to break sterile field.
Yeah. Well, oh my goodness. So basically, you smeared some paps by just grabbing a pager. Before you actually went to do the pap smears.
Yes, yeah. I've done this rotation has been really good to me. They've allowed me to do a lot of good things. Mm-hmm. Like do all the stuff that you would be able to do in a OB rotation, which is what is great. Do
you think you could deliver our future babies?
Without an OB there? Like, my thing is, I could deliver it right now. You know how I'm a little over prepared for things. So,
yes, that's true.
If I watch somebody do it, I'm like, explain to me exactly how you did it and what you're looking for.
Yes.
Because if I'm standing there and they're like cleaning the baby, I'm like, tell me exactly what you're looking for. And they're like, okay, yeah, grab the baby by the neck and then move the shoulder out. And I'm like, okay. And then the next time I see it, I do the motions. And by the third time, I'm pulling that baby out of you. I'm just kidding. Okay. But...
well...
I think that I would not want to actually deliver any baby without an OB there, obviously. Because if there was any complications, like if it came out awkward, I'd be like, oh shit, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But if it came out, and I honestly wouldn't feel comfortable doing it with our kid, but if it was anybody else's kid, I'd feel comfortable pulling it out.
If I
fucked it up though, and it was our kid, you would never let me live it down.
I would divorce you.
I could do somebody else's kid. I'm pretty comfortable in my own technique, but I'm not comfortable in luck and irony, and I feel like it might get me.
Yeah. If Riley had puppies, Riley's our dog, our precious little fur baby. If she had puppies...
Our spayed fur baby.
Yeah.
So this scenario will never happen.
Could you deliver her puppies?
I believe I could.
I think
because I would say that
easier. I think it's more natural. Like,
I'm gonna tell you one thing. I have been my family has had many dogs and even pregnant dogs, and I've never once heard of any of them having to assist in the birth.
Okay, well,
it's usually they walk up and there's a shitload of little pups, and it's like, oh, okay, like mama had puppies.
So for this booster, is it different like ingredients or particles or whatever you want to call it for the vaccine booster? Or is it just like a little less fluid than what you got the first two times? You know, like how is this booster gonna boost you?
Yeah, that's a good concept to understand that. I actually don't know myself, is that if this is just a booster, is there a different chemical formula to what, I assume that they use the same prototype with the splicing, like the way they made the vaccine the first way. I assume that they are using the same like technology to make the booster. But I really don't know if it's I would think that it would be something different, but I haven't looked that far into it to know what is different about it. If they tried to do it a little bit better, if they trying to change the concept so that it wouldn't be as many like strange side effects and stuff like that, like,
or so that it would be a little more effective,
or more effective. That's
our good friend Carmen, like she had COVID, got the vaccine, and is now sitting at home with COVID for a second time.
Yes, Carmen was supposed to be one of the guests, but
right now. But
yeah, but she has COVID and she is currently vaccinated.
and she has already had COVID. So one was what variant? I would like to know what variant she has right now. Is it the regular one? Surely it's not.
It's surely not.
I would like
she's
to know.
had
Yeah. I want to know what variant she had the first time. Probably the original.
Yes.
She got vaccinated and now has one of the new variant that the vaccine doesn't cover or covers it a little, kind of protects you, the basics or whatever. But like, does the booster protect you from the variants? Does the booster just extra protect you from the original? No one knows. But then like people are being told to get this booster. People are being told to get the original vaccine, and if they don't, they're getting fired.
Yeah, that's a tough thing.
Two, it's being one, it's being mandated, or they're getting fired, or two, they're just I don't even have a two, honestly. Like, that's just crazy to me.
So yeah, that's one of the tough things that right now that's going on is that especially even in the OB clinic, there is a lady, like in the outpatient clinic that I was referring to earlier. She has the highest amount of antibodies out of everybody, and yet she will be fired next week because she does not have the vaccine.
How do you know she has the highest antibodies?
Because they gave everybody the blood antibody test, and
her results
results were higher than everybody that had the vaccine
because she just had COVID or something.
She had COVID like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
And she doesn't want the vaccine.
She doesn't want the vaccine because she had it just a couple months ago.
What about
and I think
that?
somebody passed away.
She didn't want
There's
it.
also another lady that her husband died from it, and she doesn't have the vaccine, and she doesn't want it because she survived, and like her husband just died. Like her husband died like a week and a half ago, but she will be fired as well. There's some like religious exceptions I think that they can make.
Yes, they have come out with a religious exception for it. It's basically buying them time.
What the hell is a religious exception matter if you're forcing every single person to do this vaccine, like in the thought of science or like how you're actually planning to make a difference, right? You're going to make a difference by making sure everybody gets the vaccine no matter what. Like even if they have a stance that's against it, you're going to criticize them no matter what or fire them. Yeah. So you're going to fire these people because these people have worked throughout the whole pandemic. Yeah. These nurses have worked throughout the whole pandemic. You're going to fire them because they don't have a good enough religious excuse? Yeah. What counts as a religious excuse? Like, does Christianity count?
I don't think so.
So what is a religious excuse then? Like, just because you're Indian, I guess? Or Hindu? Like, you're not even like half of the people that put their lives on the line before you had a vaccine. You're going to give them the chance. You're going to fire them without even listening to their religious excuse, I guess, because you're saying no. I don't know if you're not even allowing them to get a chance to say that they don't want it, but you're going to give a whole nother side set of people the chance to keep their jobs.
No. It only buys them time.
And I get that it only buys them time, but that time is crucial because there's the hospital that is merging with the hospital that I work at. It's going to merge in a month. So a lot of the people that they applied for this exception at the other hospital, it worked because they had a certain high antibody test and all this other shit. The other hospital denied them, even though they had higher antibodies, according to these people. So for the same reasons, they were complaining for the same thing. So you're really going to force people to choose a religion that allows for the exception for one, but also like you're setting up a basis, like, so when this hospital does merge, they would have been able to keep their jobs, but because they got fired, who knows if they'll be hired back. And so we're going to end it right here. So thank you everyone for tuning in. This is the Off-White Coat podcast. This is Jordan Abney, Mary Beth Skinner. We are signing out. Thank you everyone for listening. Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Hey everyone, I want to take this time to tell you about our friends over at TrueLearn. They have this top-of-the-line test bank that is perfect for any upcoming board exams that you may have. They have test banks for all types of exams. So whether you're studying for medical school, nursing school, OT, pharmacy, and others like speech pathology, TrueLearn is the way to go. If you're like me and going through medical school, They have question banks for all the big exams, like Step 1, Step 2, and Step 3, with quality assessments for each exam. Look, I know we didn't go into healthcare because we love taking tests. This is the hard part of the job. Make it easy on yourself with TrueLearn. Sign up now with the code OFFWHITECOAT to get $25 off your purchase. That's OFF white coat, no spaces, to get $25 off your purchase. This is a test bank that you do not want to pass up on. Make this easy on yourself. Take the deal, pass your boards, and get back to enjoying the reason you went into healthcare. And make sure to use Off White Coat when you pick it up.